Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I'm your host. I'm so happy to be here. If you are listening live, it's about 11 a.m. Pacific time on the 24th of September. If you're listening to an archive or a replay, I also want to welcome you to the show. I want to let you know that we're over in the chat room. You can find that by heading over to 12radio.com. Click on the chat button and you'll be redirected into the Facebook chat. It's a private group, so you will need to join, but no big deal there. You'll see my banner at the top of the page and people chatting there. It's a great place to ask questions, hang out, rub shoulders with other like-minded friends. Or if you would rather watch this event, you can do that by heading over to Katie Weaver Domestic Mystic on YouTube or Facebook and watch the live stream. And if you're commenting in the live stream, I will see you as well. My program shows me all of the comments from both of those streams. So I should be able to see you and interact with you, no problem. So hi! Happy autumnal equinox, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that it's fall. I'm happy. Want to say hi to Sherry, Sarah, Sid, Renee, and everyone else coming into the chat room. Good to see you all. It looks like I have a new neighbor. It looks like the Christina LaFrance show is coming back and will be directly after my show. So just a heads up that that is happening. And congrats to her. Oh, Tiffany. Tiff has COVID. But it means she does get to be here because she's not at work. So I guess silver linings, huh? But I'm sorry you have COVID. That really sucks. Well, I've been doing a lot of sucking up all of this fall energy that I can. My gosh, it is so beautiful here. And on Sunday night, we had a picnic on the river. That was amazing. Getting ready to go see the kids. Have you guys seen this new trend of doing a flight? I mean, you may have had a beer flight at some point or, uh, another kind of, I can't remember what they're called. Oh, I've had a margarita flight before, mimosa flight. That's what I was trying to say. You've had a flight, right? So there's gotten to be a trend lately to do flights in food. So right before Mars moved to go back to live with her siblings and go to school, she we did a deviled egg flight. It was interesting. I'm not I'm not a huge fan of deviled eggs, but we did. So basically, you just you put together several different ones to try. So in ours, I can't remember. I think we did a BLT one. We did like a traditional one with pickle. We did 5 different ones. I can't remember, but anyway, so that was like the thing. And then the kids did a baked potato flight, putting all different kinds of toppings on baked potatoes. They did like a mac and cheese one, a BLT one, like a traditional one, a brisket one. You know what I mean, right? You're getting the gist. So we're planning a grilled cheese flight for when we're down visiting the kids. Uh, every time we visit, we usually take them out to eat, and I'm sure we will. We'll be there for a few days, but it is easily $150 to feed the 5 of us. It's so insane. I mean, I get it. That's what things cost now. But I'm more than happy to buy some fancy cheese and do a grilled cheese flight. So anyway, I'm sharing it because I'm interested to know what your favorite grilled cheese is. So, besides just like the classic grilled cheese with a bowl of tomato soup, which was my mother's go-to for lunch. We ate that a lot when I was a kid. If you were sick, that is definitely what you were eating, you know. So anyway, mine, we're each designing one. So I am doing uh, blackberry compote with smoked Gouda. Scott is doing some kind of bacon, Carlsberg, hot honey situation. Matea, it sounds like, is really doing a Reuben, but that's fine. And the other two haven't picked yet, but I'm just curious. Do you have a favorite? Grilled cheese? I might need more ideas. JR said, oh, she thought a flight is in taking a plane. Nah, nothing that exotic. Just flights of food. Okay. Well, anyway, I thought that was kind of a fun topic, but I wanted to share. I do have a little show and tell. I have finally been in the classroom. I just haven't, I haven't felt good this summer. You guys know that. And then I was like genuinely like in bed sick a couple weeks ago, and I've just kind of been behind in general and haven't felt very creative. And I think I'm can speak for a lot of creatives when I say this, that creativity ebbs and flows. And I have been in an ebb for the better part of the summer. I've done a few things, I've forced a few things out of me, but it hasn't been the kind of creative jam that I like to be in, where it's like, you know, I can't get enough of the projects I'm doing. And I have not had that. But the good news for me is that I'm finally gearing up. I spent most of the day on Sunday in the classroom and have a big kiln firing right now. But one of the things I did get done was getting more of the fused glass necklaces made that the first time I made these, they sold out really, really fast on Etsy. And I've had many requests for more. So I have some of these done, so I wanted to share them with you before they sell out. But I have more cabs in the kiln, so I should be able to put some more together shortly. But at any rate, I wanted to share what these look like. So this is my, oh, that's not great. Okay, we'll do that. So this is the crushed Vaseline glass or the crushed uranium glass. So these are vintage the saucers that I have crushed up and fused them back into cabs, and then of course attached them to these pendants. But so there's the silver one and there's the brass one. So that's what they look like. And then this is what they look like under black light. This is what makes this glass so special, is because there's uranium in the matrix of the glass. There it glows under black light, and they're pretty cool. So for Halloween, for clubbing, just for fun, these are kind of fun necklaces, and they are double-sided. So there's a piece of glass on both sides of the necklace. So anyway, thought that might be something you guys would be interested in. If not, that's cool, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that these were finally back in stock. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they come out of the kiln. They're all a little different. Like you can really see in this one, you can kind of see the matrix of the glass in it a little bit more. And they're just cool. So at any rate, I'm excited to share that with you guys. And if it's something that you're interested in, go pick one up. I would love to send it to you. Super fun. Okay. Well, oh, I was going to share a link too. What am I doing? I have no idea. Let's be real. Uh, I'll share a link in the chat room as well. But if you want to go check out my Etsy store, it is Joyful Goddess Designs on Etsy. So I'm putting a link in the other chat room too, because I know you guys aren't seeing the video, so you can go check it out over there. Okay. Let's see. Jane said, my mom's fave was grilled cheese and tomato soup. I like grilled cheese with tomato, bacon, and spinach. Oh, interesting. That does sound really good. Tiffany said, how about an autumn grilled cheese with apples? Ooh, thinly sliced apples. That's a great idea, Tiffany. How sacrilegious would it be to put apples and then a very conservative sprinkling of pumpkin spices. I know. I'm obsessed. It's ridiculous. JR said, pardon me. Oh, sorry, guys. I'll try to mute for that. JR said, when I have kids, I'm going to brag about how inexpensive things were in the 90s and early 2000s, right? Yikes. Okay. Apples and Gouda. Ooh, that sounds really good. We were at Costco yesterday, and I was just staring down all the fancy cheeses, trying to decide what would be best. And I volunteered to bring the bread for everybody, so now I'm gonna have to probably pick up, I don't know, like a good sourdough, maybe maybe like a marble rye. I don't know. Probably a marble rye for that Reuben. I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway, well now I've got you all thinking, and you're all going to be out making a grilled cheese sandwich. I can tell. You're welcome. All righty. Well, let's take a look at Luminous. I had held off in our Winged Things series on doing owls because I really associate owls with the fall, which is crazy because there's always owls out and about. But I guess for me, they're a fall thing. So there you go. Luminous, of course, is the magazine that I publish weekly with a little help from some of my friends here in the 1-2 world. And there we go. And it came out earlier today, so if you may have already received it, but anyway, we're going to go through some of it. So I went with an owl cover, a fall owl cover, because I do associate owls with fall. I think probably just because of the winter or the fall equinox angle. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but okay. Okay, listen to me. If you have not watched A Discovery of Witches, what are you even doing with your life? Have you guys seen that? It is so good. It sucks that it was only made it 3 seasons, but oh my God. I'm almost done with it. I've been binging it. Since I was sick, I have been so low energy, it's just crazy. And I've spent more time on the couch than I have in I don't know how long. But it's about all I've had, you know? You just do a little bit and then you're done. And it's just, I'm actually so much stronger. The last few days, I feel like, oh my God, I'm finally back. But because of that, I binged a couple of things. Chaos with a K on Netflix. Oh, that's a wild ride. I highly recommend it, but it's a wild ride. Oh, Sheila is watching it. Yep. Sarah loved it. Yes. So good. Well, at any rate, yeah, I'm loving it. Loving it. But we've had a challenge with the dogs because, I have 3 Chihuahuas and a Basset Hound. And the Basset's a pretty big girl. And the Chihuahuas are teeny little boys that wherever I sit, they're just snuggled right up with me. They're in my blanket. And they're Chihuahuas, they're blanky boys. And poor Nellie just keeps getting her feelings hurt because she wants to come and cuddle up with us, and the other dogs are mean to her about it because she stomps all over on them. There's no room for her in my recliner, and it's just been a sad deal. So she ends up sitting next to us or laying on the dog bed looking all sad, and she's a Basset Hound, so they look sad anyway. So I get totally played by her resting sad face. But anyway, I saw these recliners that are like a love seat. They call them a double chair or a 1.5 chair, but they're basically just a really wide recliner. And I was thinking, my gosh, if I could buy one of those, there would be plenty of room for all of the dogs, and she could cuddle up with us too, and she wouldn't be moping around here sad, and my guilt meter would go down. And so I was watching on Marketplace, and I found one last week and picked it up, and it's perfect. So now we can all pile into the chair. We call it the mama chair now because all the dogs have to come sit with mom. But at any rate, it's just been so amazing. So Nellie is much happier now that she has a spot in the mom chair. And now, if I act like I'm going to go sit down in that chair, all of the dogs come running, including Nell, and wait for me to get sat. And then they all hop on top and we get all organized. And anyway, it's a whole thing. But rest assured, Nell is finally happy and comfortable in the mama chair. The things we do for our dogs. All right. Well, I called this week's magazine The Ancient Owl Wisdom because, again, it's perfect for now, right? In the fall, I always feel this pull towards the ancient wisdom of my soul, the ancient wisdom of my past lives, of my ancestors. This is where I feel the most deeply connected. And here we are. I'm a good manifester. I was on that one, man. Especially because I looked at two others that I had considered buying that were a lot more money. And it was fine. I was totally willing to do it. And they both sold before I could make a plan. And then when this one came up, it was a fraction of that. And they lived like 3 blocks from me. So yeah, that was perfect. Okay. Well, let's talk about the significance of owls in spirituality. I'm curious to know before we get started on that too, what your how you feel about owls. When you see an owl, is it disquieting to you? Is it comforting? Is it blah? Does it make you nervous? People have reactions to owls. I think it's really interesting. Uh, Once I was in a Mexican restaurant in Salt Lake City that had like over the booths kind of had roofs, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does. They had kind of an overhang over them. And I noticed that over quite a few of the booths, there were stuffed owls. And by stuffed, I mean taxidermied owls. They were everywhere in there. And I thought it was really fascinating. So I asked the server, I said, the owls in here are really interesting. What's the significance? And he said, oh, well, I'm glad you like them because some people get really offended and get really weirded out by them. But the owners, as a part of their spirituality, they believe the owls are protectors. And so there's a lot of owls in here to protect our restaurant, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. Sarah said, comforting. They remind me of my aunt. Jane said, I love them. They're awesome and I love their sounds. Sid said, I'm lucky we have owls where I live. I love hearing them hoot. I think they're neat. We get one in the pine trees across the street from my house, and we hear them often. Yeah, I don't know how the owls died. I don't know. Yeah, Liliane, I wondered about that too. Honestly, we have owls hit on the roads around here quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were just roadkill owls. Unfortunately, we see owls hit often, which sucks. But so yeah, that's a good point though. At any rate, but yeah, we hear owls. It does make me somewhat nervous because I have tiny dogs, you know, and that's always a worry. But I've never had a problem. But I had read not too long ago about someone around here whose cat got an owl tried to pick it up and was unable to. So I'm not sure about that, but however, let's go on. Jane said, I live like owls. Do you now? Yep. You're a night owl? So is Scott. Scott stays up most of the night. He's not a sleeper. I am. So me and the dogs go to bed. All right. Well, let's talk about it. So, owls have always had a special place in human culture and mythology and spirituality. Maybe it's their sound. Maybe it's their piercing eyes. Maybe it is their silent flight. Owls are so quiet when they hunt. When they pass you, you might not even know. But let's talk about the symbolism of them in spirituality. So, as always, they've been symbols of wisdom and knowledge, and partly because of their ability to see in the dark, right? Literally and metaphorically. If there's something around you that you feel like you can't see clearly, maybe you make like an owl, right? Owls are seen as beings who can see what others can't. They represent clarity and the ability to see through the veil of deception or illusion. So owls, in a sense, are the truth tellers and the truth seers. So when an owl crosses your path in real life or symbolically, a lot of times you'll just start seeing a lot of some animal come up on your feeds or across your path or in media or whatever you're looking at. And that sometimes will give you an idea that maybe this is an animal that you need to connect with. And owls are very much that way as well. But that could be a sign that the truth is out there if you look more closely. Owls and intuition. Owls are connected to intuition and inner knowing. Because they are creatures of the night, they remind us that not all answers can be found in the bright light of day. And on that note, because they're creatures of the night, I feel like they give us a little confidence in looking into the dark. Uh, as children, we were afraid of the dark. Perhaps we might have even been given the idea that owls were dangerous or scary, and perhaps, or not owls, sorry, that the night is dangerous and scary. And as little children, our parents didn't want us after dark, right? And as adults, you may be a little wary of the dark, and that's okay. But if you're never willing to look in dark places, you're going to miss out on some of the truths of your own life. Guardians of the afterlife. In some cultures, owls are also linked to death in the afterlife. Not in a doom and gloom way, though. They are seen as guides or protectors of souls crossing over from the physical world to the spiritual realm. Interesting. I didn't know that until I researched this paper. Uh, the connection to death isn't about fear, but about transformation and transition. And again, change and transition. Owls are considered symbols of change and transformation. Their nocturnal habits and connection to the moon tie them to the cyclical nature of life. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, life is full of phases. So going through periods of change, calling an owl in to support you is a powerful decision. Cultural takes on owls. In Greek mythology, the owl was sacred to Athena. In Native American traditions, owls often symbolize protection and are seen as keepers of sacred knowledge. In some other cultures, owls have been viewed with a bit of caution, representing omens or the unknown. Yes. However, regardless of the interpretation, of course, owls are powerful creatures of the night. They're full of mystery and deep spiritual meaning. So what if you're seeing owls? What if you're seeing owls outside, or you're hearing owls, or you're seeing owls in other ways? Maybe you're dreaming about owls or seeing them in some other capacity. Well, it's usually a spiritual message. Maybe it's urging you to pay closer attention to things going on around you or within you. It could be a call to trust your intuition more, or a gentle reminder that even in the darkest times, there's light, wisdom, and clarity to be found. On that front, I feel like also owl energy, I think, urges you to have the courage to look into dark places in your life. Frequently, we tend to just ignore things that we don't want to have to face or think about. Uh, we ignore bad behavior sometimes, or a truth about our own life, our own health, our own finances, our own intuition, uh, out of fear, maybe, or out of just not being able to deal with it. But the owl energy definitely gives you a push towards having the courage to peek out into the dark and shine some light on it. Owls trust us to see beyond the surface, to trust our inner wisdom, and to embrace the changes that life throws our way. So when you see an owl, think about what that might mean for you, what kind of a message it might be bringing to you. And then at the end of that article, I did share a live cam of owls. It's pretty cool. So, and I'm going to share it too here on the show as soon as we get through Luminous. I'll put it up on split screen with it so that we can watch that through the rest of the show because owls. I love it. Right? Sid said, I always thought it was cool that Harry Potter got to keep his owl in his room, and I think it went to classes with him too. Right? Yeah. Tiffany said, in college I did a shamanic journey, and first I saw an owl's eyes followed by a spider. I look at them as my totems. Nice. My mom was a teacher, a elementary school teacher, and in their science unit, when they were learning about zoology, she would always bring in owl pellets and have the kids dissect them. And so I can remember her taking my kids out and going to places where we knew owls would be and gathering owl pellets, which always cracked me up. Um, but when one year when Micah was he was playing baseball, so he wasn't very old. He was probably like 7 or 8. The local park where baseball happened had when they'd have practice, I'd take the other kids and just walk the park. And we discovered this nest that had two great horned owl babies in it. And it was way too small of a nest. I don't know why they were there. It was not really a safe place. And the babies were way too big for the nest. They were crammed in there. Mom was basically just balancing on a branch. But we spent the entire summer watching those owls. We were over at that park a couple nights a week, and sometimes even more. Sometimes the kids would just want to go visit the owls, and we go over there, and keep a respectful distance. But we watched those babies grow all the way up until one day we got there, and they were not in the nest anymore. And we could hear them. They'd moved over to some pine trees, and they spent clear until fall there, and then they were gone, and they never came back. But that was the most amazing experience to watch those babies grow up and get bigger and bigger and then see them flying in between those trees and ah, very cool experience. Yeah. Okay, Kelly brings us an article called No Hate for Haitians, a brief history of Haiti. You know what I love about Kelly? That she asks questions and answers them. And you know what? I didn't know shit about Haiti. That's what I didn't know. I was surprised what I didn't know. Really appreciated this article. It's awesome. And I highly recommend that you read it. At the very bottom of the article, there is a link that you can click on to listen to her podcast about her No Hate for Haitians episode. And I highly recommend that you do. It's really, really good information. And, with what has unfortunately happened to the Haitian community here in the United States here the last few weeks and the very negative attention they've received, I think it's important for us to focus on the positive and also on understanding each other because the more we understand each other, the less we persecute against each other. So thank you, Kelly, for that. That was awesome. Okay, I put together an infographic on connecting to owls and spirituality, giving you some actions that you can take. So, first of all, meditation focus. So, using images or statues of owls as a focal point during meditation. Picture the owl guiding you to deeper wisdom and inner clarity as you meditate. Nature walks and owl calls. Go on a mindful walk at dusk or night in nature and listen for owl calls. Take these moments as opportunities to reflect, connect with the natural world, and ask for clarity on personal matters. Visualizations. And this is, I think it was, I can't remember now who said it, that you love the tiny owls. I know. Look at this little guy. My God. In visualization exercises, imagine yourself as an owl, soaring above your life, gaining a higher perspective on problems, decisions, or emotional situations. This can help you detach and see things more clearly. and divination and owl wisdom. In divination practices such as scrying or pendulum work, call on the owl for guidance to see what is hidden or unclear. I think we could all do with a little owl guide coming our way. Hey, Laurie. Good to see you. Okay. Oh, Christy's energy exercise is calm mind. It was the same as last week. We need it. I need it. Yeah, probably you too. Okay, over at True Crime Squad, well, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Holy cow, you guys, this Sean Combs stuff. I don't even want to call him like Diddy or any of that stuff. I just think we should just call him by his name at this point and not elevate him that way because holy hell. It is so bad. He is so bad. I had no idea. I guess I just don't pay attention to pop culture that much, but I had no idea that both Usher and Justin Bieber had have obviously been victims of his, long-term victims of his. My God. It's oh, and the Carters too, Aaron Carter, the Carter kids. And so many more, I know, but those are ones that are coming up initially, and wow, it is really something. Jamie Dawn has a brand new video. Learn to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Whew. That's a big one. It's a big ask. It's a big skill, but it's something that you sometimes really have to do, especially if you want to manifest something, you want to change something in your life. You've got to find a way to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So take a look at that. She's got some good ideas. And then over at Planet Meditation, lots of meditations for you. And that's what I've got. So that is Luminous this week. Yeah, Usher. I think what's going to come out about Usher is that he was a victim of I did it! Of Sean Combs, and also maybe, unfortunately, a co-conspirator later on. But because he was a victim first, it's hard to put a lot of stock in that. It's bad. We should all be prepared to have our feelings hurt here because famous people that you like are going to come out of this looking really bad. I promise. That's where this is headed. And I think we all have to be willing to put our biases aside and believe the victims because there are many. And there's tapes, there's recordings. I mean, these won't be accusations. The only thing I'll say about it, though, is that until the evidence is released, and it may not be until his trial that we see a lot of it, but until the evidence is released, be very careful about just believing anything you see about this. Meaning that you are most definitely going to see accusations against everyone under the sun. I'm seeing people already just accusing anyone that they don't like uh, of being a part of this. And we don't know who is a part of it. We know who some of the victims are. We know there are a vast amount of victims. But this is going to be a bit like Epstein, too, in that Sean Combs had residences in, I think, 4 different places. He threw hundreds and hundreds of parties. He invited famous people from every walk of life. He had politicians, he had recording artists, he had dancers, he had athletes, he had actors and actresses. I mean, everybody. Just because somebody attended one of Diddy's parties doesn't mean it was one of those freak off parties. It doesn't mean that they have done anything wrong. Just be careful. The rumors are going to get crazy before the proof really starts rolling out. But when the proof does start rolling out, because it will when this makes it to trial, and the names start coming forward. We all have to be willing to believe the victims. It's going to be wild, but be careful and wait for the evidence. Because yeah, the fingers are already starting to be pointed in a way that looks to me like just a chance to bitch at people that you don't like. You still think Epstein is alive, do you, Jane? You know, it's interesting because Combs is in the same prison or the same jail as Epstein was. And everyone's like, by God, keep this man alive. We're not doing this again. Interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know why. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he is on suicide watch, but yes, I know. Ick. Yuck. But we'll keep an eye on it. I saw the most hilarious video yesterday. Apparently, in San Diego, the police are struggling with people blowing through stop or crosswalks and pedestrians getting hit and all kinds of problematic things happening. And so to catch people that are they're speeding and blowing through crosswalks, they're dressing an officer up in one of those chicken costumes, the blow up kind. So this giant like rainbow chicken costume. And he starts to cross the street, and if a car stops and allows him, then great. And if it doesn't, they figure that you can't miss somebody in a giant blow up chicken costume. So if you don't stop, that's the police's sign that you probably need to be pulled over and have a ticket. Anyway, very funny. The videos of it are hilarious. Yeah. It's true. The money they have, they can pay people off and get lost easily. It's exactly why Combs did not get bond. He was offering to pay a $50 million bond, and the prosecution was like, Judge, he could be out of here tomorrow. Like he has way too many resources to be able to hide. And also, he'd already been tampering with witnesses before he was arrested, so that was the other reason. But yeah, the judge agreed that no, that he shouldn't have bail because his opportunities to flee are too deep. I am loving this stream. So it's kestrels and owls and something else. Are they cool? You know, kestrels almost put me in jail one time. Kestrels are hawks, and they're illegal to have as pets or in any capacity. Uh, and years ago, when Scott was still working, he was a diesel mechanic on a farm. And one day they started pulling apart all of these haystacks, that like the big 1 ton bales, the big giant bales. And it what they discovered is that kestrel hawks had been nesting in those bales, and it was just full of babies. And they didn't care. And they were just pulling the nests apart and would just let the babies die. And the parents were all above screaming. It was awful. And, Scott, he's got a huge heart. He's also a complete bird brain, loves birds. And so he calls me and he's like, hey, I need you to research what kestrel hawk babies would eat and get something going because I'm coming home with two toolboxes full of kestrel babies. And they are hungry and screaming. So, as it turns out, they eat raw meat. And so I thawed out a pound of hamburger and had it ready. And when he got home, I just started hand feeding all of these shrieking babies. They were just little gray things with these bright yellow beaks. And, if one would cry, they all would cry. They'd throw their heads back and shriek and bawl. And we were feeding them little bites of hamburger as fast as we could go. And so this was later in the evening. So we fed them every few hours that night, but I knew we couldn't keep them and didn't want to keep them. We just wanted to save them. And so I knew we had to surrender them. So the next day, I called Fish and Game, and I also knew that this was a little bit delicate because I also didn't want to get Scott in trouble with his work. And unfortunately, farmers, and this is not a fair blanket statement, but farmers around here tend to be pretty cold-hearted towards life or wildlife. And at any rate, it was just a delicate situation. So I called Fish and Game and I said, and this is not entirely untrue because I've nursed a lot of birds and other animals, over the years. I called Fish and Game and said that someone had left 2 boxes full of kestrel babies on my steps. And I don't know where they came from, but have taken care of them overnight, and I would like to surrender them to a rehab. And so the lady I talked to said, okay, I'll have, somebody call you. And so, of course, she did have a gentleman call me, and I had 35 babies. And apparently the fine for having one of them is a lot. For having 35 of them, well, it's really a lot. But so the Fish and Game officer called me and said, so I understand you've got a bunch of kestrel babies. I said, yeah, I've got about 35 of them. And I'm trying to surrender them. And he was like, and they came from where? I said, yeah, I don't know. Somebody just left them on my step. And he said, uh-huh. I said, yeah. He goes, so you don't know where they came from. I said, yeah, I don't. But I've been feeding them overnight, and I would like to surrender them. And he goes, well, I've got a rehab that's ready to take them. So I'm going to give them your number so they can come and get them from you. He said, but so no ideas where they came from, huh? And I said, I just don't know. He goes, well, I'll tell you what. It's illegal. It's illegal. I said, no, I know. That's why I'm calling you. And he said, well, I'm not going to give you a ticket today because you're surrendering them. I think you're trying to do the right thing. So I'm not going to give you a ticket. I was like, holy shit. Trying to do the right thing here. Yeah, so the rehab came and got them, and I never heard another word. So I hope they survived. They were amazing. Amazing. But it wasn't my place to keep them and try and rehab them. I'm not a rehabber of birds like that. If it was a crow or it was a robin or something, I would have just kept it. But uh, birds of prey are illegal to have. Yeah, you can't without a falconer's license or a rehab license. You cannot have them. Yeah. No, I agree totally. Yeah, give me a ticket. Yeah, I know. I knew what I was risking. But I also knew I had to surrender them. There's no way I could have kept them. I wouldn't have ever done that. But yeah. So I hope they did well. The rehabbers said we did do, the correct thing and that they would probably just keep feeding them exactly the way we had. So anyway, I wish I would have asked if I could follow up because I would have liked to have seen how many of them lived and how they did moving forward. Yeah. Right, Laurie? I think he was. He was just miffed that I wouldn't tell him where they came from. But I figured just pleading the fifth on that and just claiming that I had no idea was the best thing I could do and not say anything else. Because obviously, if I told them what farm they came from, it's one of the largest farms around here, and they would have been right out there. And since, I'm sure everyone there knew who hauled home 2 toolboxes full of those babies the day before, probably would have cost Scott his job. But, nah, they're not. They're not. They're not listening. This was also like 10 years ago. Right? Someone told someone, hey, there's a bird lady you could give them to, right? See? That was my angle. Yeah. Sid said, I'm saddened by how farmers and strongly religious communities treat animals. Have you ever heard about how ranchers in Utah dump Great Pyrenees herd dogs in the remote wild, even with rescues pleading? Oh, yeah, that happens around here too. Yeah. Out on the desert, especially where people run their sheep, they'll put Great Pyrenees out there with them, and they are vicious. They can be really vicious, and they look like shit. Every time I see one of those dogs, I'm like, oh my God. They usually look pretty rough, and oh, we were out on the desert one time a few years ago and came across a huge herd of sheep that had two Great Pyrenees that were hanging with them, and they were biting the tires of our truck. I was so scared to even drive forward because I was afraid we would hit them. Because when we stopped because all these sheep were on the road. And these are like desert roads, so not like a road, off roading. And we'd stopped, obviously to not run over sheep. And they were biting our tires and like hitting our windows viciously. It was scary. I've never been more scared of a dog than that time, actually. But yeah, they don't. And with those Great Pyrenees, if they lose one, they just replace it. There's just, yeah, there's no cozy couch for those dogs. That's for damn sure. Yeah. Farmers think nothing of killing too many cats, etc. Yeah, yeah. And again, I'm sure not all farmers, but boy, we see a lot of that around here. Well, the fight here in Idaho between farmers and the fish and game over wolves is terrible. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they just use those dogs up and, yep, and just let them die. It's terrible. I agree, Sid. It is terrible. Yeah. That's what I'm learning is that the Amish have a real problem with puppy mills and animal abuse. Yeah, what the hell? Yeah. Anyway, well, that was a big aside. But I was looking at these kestrels was making me think about the kestrels that I had for a very brief moment. Yeah. Okay. I know that I had a request a long, hot minute ago from Tiffany, so I'm going to try and get back to it. Let's see. She'd like some insight on Hickory's teeth. Hickory is a bunny. Oh, her teeth procedure tomorrow and decisions I need to make about pulling teeth or not. Okay. Ooh, I get a hard yes on pulling teeth. 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 That comes in really strong for me, Tiffany, that if they need to pull some teeth, you should let them. Because we're going to continue to have some tooth issues. So if they have some teeth that need to go, yes, that feels very positive to me that that needs to happen and that it'll make a happier girl out of poor Hickory. Yeah. Yeah, the hypocrisy of all of it. I agree, Sid. It's just gross. You know what we see here sometimes, especially like this time of year, if we go up into the mountains where Scott and I like to go traipse around on the weekends and stuff, you'll see people with bear dogs or cat dogs that are hound dogs that are trained to go to tree mountain lions or to tree bears and or to I don't know if they tree bears or if they just alert to bears, but boy, that's an intense thing. Yay. And all the dogs have these big collar things on with the receivers and they turn them loose and you can hear all this baying and carrying on and hollering and it is something up in there when they're doing that. It makes me sick. It just makes me sick, but it's weird. Yeah. Tiffany said worried about the quantity. I think they'll be conservative. I feel like they'll be careful to not take anything that doesn't really have to go. But she's going to lose a few, I think. Yeah. Jacqueline said, if time, will you check in with my cat Wishka? She hasn't been home in several days. Sure. I'm going to tune into her through you, Jacqueline. She is living. I think she got a little further from home than she meant to. But she is out prowling and stuff. I'm going to send her home to at least come home and check in with you. So I'm showing her coming into the yard, coming up on your porch, and just showing her face. I feel like she's just got prime hunting right now and is just kind of living it up. Okay, so I'm going to hold space for you, Jacqueline, that she comes home here in the next day or so to check in with you. Yeah. I'm amazed at people that rehab like baby squirrels. Have you seen these people that have them? Sometimes they can't be re-released and they keep them as pets, and they are amazing. Squirrels are smart as hell. When I was a kid, I went to babysit at a neighbor's house one time, and they had a little squirrel that they'd rescued from their yard from a cat that was somewhat injured. But I felt really sorry for it. They had a wheel, like a hamster wheel, and I was at that house for hours that day, and that squirrel ran the wheel the entire time I was there. And he wasn't injured at that point. Like when they rescued him, he was injured, but he'd healed up. But he was obviously a very wild squirrel that wanted to be in the wild. But the way he ran the wheel the whole time, my mom was so upset about it that she was threatening to just go let it loose in their backyard and pretend like we had no idea what happened because it wasn't good. And eventually they did finally turn it back loose in the yard. And I hope he was okay, but it, he acted like being in captivity was making him crazy. I think he was a little too old to be captured and rehabbed and kept. Yeah. Aren't the baby owls darling? They are precious. Lillian said, tame baby squirrels are weightless. I held one a few years ago after it had been rescued. Oh, so sweet. I held a baby skunk a few years ago. And oh my hell. She was the cutest thing I've ever seen. She'd been decented, but oh my hell. Mm-hmm. It almost made me want to bring a skunk home. Almost. Jessica said, can you do a healing on my dog Hank? My son's dog bit him and he has a lump on his cheek that we are doctoring. Tell Whiskey to stop going after Hank. Yeah, you bet, Jessica. Man, it's so hard when you don't have peace with your animals. I know that is a very difficult situation. Okay, we'll take a look at Hank and the lump. Yeah, he's got a little abscess, huh? Okay. Put a lot of light around that. Okay. And now let's tune into Whiskey through you. So I'm going to consequence Whiskey with seclusion. So I'm showing Whiskey that if they go after Hank, they're either going into a bedroom, a bathroom, a crate, but they're going to be consequenced and spend some time by themselves when they do that. Let's see if we can help spell that behavior. It's very like insecure dominant kind of behavior, which is crazy because I don't think Hank even wants to be the dominant dog. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. But that's the consequence that I showed Whiskey was to the if you do that, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Oh, Jane picked up an injured baby possum years ago from the road, took him to a rehab. He was ferociously adorable, hissing at me while in the palm of my hand. Oh, sweet baby. Oh, and Pamela does feed the squirrels. Nice. I do too, but kind of on accident. We don't really have squirrels here very much. We had a flood when I was, a year before I was born, actually. So it's been a while, but we had a huge flood here, and it wiped out the squirrel population, or at least that's what I've always been told. So we don't have much in the way of squirrels here. Every once in a while, we'll get one. I'll see one in the yard or a couple, but it's pretty rare. Like in where my sisters live, just 30 miles from me, they're absolutely teeming with squirrels. They're everywhere, but we don't have them here like that. Every once in a while, I'll see one, and I get super excited. I think it's just an old man. Oh, okay. So he's, yeah, bullying him. Ah, Whiskey, jerk. Sid feeds a couple of squirrels and two blue jays every morning, her little friends. Oh, I love that. Love it. Well, we have done what we do. We have talked down to the end of the show, and I want to appreciate you guys for being here. I want to remind you that I am a professional psychic advisor over at 12listen.com. So you can find me over there, and I'm there daily, every single day. If you ever go to 12listen and I'm not available, all you have to do is do a callback request, and I'll get a text that someone is waiting on me, and I will finish up whatever I'm doing and get back to you as soon as I can. You can also do a scheduled call if you'd rather, so that you know exactly what time we're going to talk. But that's the way to connect with me. I can help with psychic readings, energy work, mediumship, animal communication, uh, cheerleading, kicks in the butt, whatever you need. I'm here for it. I'm here for you. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I will be here next week. Same place, same time. So thanks so much for being here. This has been another production of The Katie Weaver Show here on 12 Radio, where we're changing the way we listen to the world.